Good morning, everybody. Enter the stars, and today's show will be a very, very important show, all about Monsanto. And what we're going to talk about today will definitively prove to you that both sides are working together. Yes, this is a prime example of the bipartisan efforts always working against the people, working against you and I. Bipartisan agendas that they like to talk about and say that they're against, but at the end of the day, they are both working together and do not stand in the way of these bipartisan agendas. Monsanto is one such agenda. So here is the debate. What would you rather have in terms of food sources, crops and things? Would you rather have more organic and independent food sources, and with that comes maybe a little bit less choices on what's on the shelf, but at least it'll be local and the stuff that locally grows in your area? Or would you rather have consistent and bountiful fake food or genetically modified food that can be grown very easily and shipped all around the country because it lasts longer on the shelf, and therefore when you go into the supermarket you have all the choices you want, but it's not real food? Well, Biden just picked the Monsanto crop devil, is what I'm calling him, Vilsack, to head up his USDA. Now let's get into this character and figure out why this is such a big deal. Now, Vilsack's been around a long time. He was the head of the USDA during Obama's 8 years. Here's his Wikipedia page here. Before that, he was a governor of Iowa, one of the main bread baskets of America. And he was criticized for the exact same thing that he's being criticized for now. As Biden's pick, he was criticized by the Obama supporters as to they were scratching their heads going, why would they pick this guy? You see, this is why they couldn't have Bernie, because Bernie was against this guy. Let's look at some of these articles that I have pulled up. Now, 6 reasons why Obama appointing Monsanto's buddy, former Iowa Governor Vilsack, for USDA would be a terrible idea. Here they talk about it. Support for genetically engineered pharma crops, especially pharma corn. Now, if you're sitting back watching this live show and going, see, that's why we should have voted for Trump. Well, just hold on, okay? Because he was doing the same thing for Monsanto. Let them off the hook for, these injuries that they cause to people with Roundup. That happened on Trump's watch. Now let's keep watching here and looking at this. The biggest biotech industry group named Vilsack Governor of the Year. He was founder of the former Governors Biotechnology Partnership. And he was the origin of the seed exemption bill in 2005, which many people here in Iowa fought because it took away local government's possibility of ever having a regulation on seeds where GE would be grown, having genetically engineered free buffers, banning pharma corn locally. So, this guy has a very poor track record. Vilsack is an ardent support of corn and soy-based biofuels, which use as much or more fossil energy to produce them as they generate. So this would be like a pipe dream, right? This would be like a money pit, a cash cow for people thinking that that sounds good and propped up by a government, but really not sustainable in its own right. Now, I want you to look at this next clip here, and I want you to hear Vilsack speaking in his own words. basically what he did, what you're going to hear here, is that he consolidated the seed industry with a merger between Monsanto and Bayer. Now, since then, Monsanto's Roundup was sued for making people sick, and they had to pay out millions in damages. But the official statement is there was no connection, and that happened on Trump's watch. Let me turn the volume up on this so you guys can hear this. And let me plug in my headphones. Hold on. Now, for those of you that are new to the show, understand that we do go live almost every day. Sometimes I'll take a break on the weekends, but lately we've been going live on the weekends as well, so that you guys can, so we can stay up to date and up to speed on everything that's going on, because it seems like every single day there's something new. A show we're doing later next week, I found a connection between Giswell's husband and her aspirations to look into selling you back pieces of your ocean. There's something about the high seas. Now, no, not a lot of channels are covering this kind of information, but we are going to cover it. Ghislaine, we call her Giswell. She is in prison, of course, or at least they tell us that she is. We've never seen pictures of her in her orange jumpsuit, but she was actually married, we find out. And her husband is a hedge fund manager that tracks container ships all over the world. What does that sound like? And they use this data to plug it in and get an edge on the market for their investors. And absolutely, Giswell was also very much interested in the high seas. This guy also had ties to some of these physicists, just like Eggstein did. So we're going to track down those leads, but let's listen to, I want to call this guy something else instead of Vilsack. Call him Vilsack. How about that?
We're dealing with climate change and some of the challenges.
Let's go back to the beginning.
The seed space, the fertilizer space, is getting to be too small. What are your thoughts on that?
Look, it's appropriate. If you take a look at what happens when commodity prices get tight and margins get reduced, you see consolidation at the farm and you see consolidation in terms of businesses serving the farm. But underlying this, I think, is a series of small seed companies that are providing that innovation that I think farmers are looking for. Obviously, there are appropriate questions to be asked in connection with any merger of this size, but I'm confident with seed technology coming off patent that we're going to continue to see smaller companies that will be successful and really push the big guys to provide farmers choice. Now,
this was back in 2016 on the heels of Obama, right? And there was this huge merger. Now, he quit during the Trump administration, but that didn't change Trump and the direction that he took Monsanto and basically, in effect, allowing them to continue on with what they're doing. Let's keep watching.
I think it's appropriate for regulators to ask questions, but at the end of the day, I'm more encouraged by what I think will be a spurt of innovation.
How much pause does it give you, if any, that when you look at these mergers, a lot of them are taking place with companies based overseas?
Well, that's part of the world we live in, and I think.
So overseas, once again, does this have your best interest at heart? You're looking for jobs. You're looking to make America great again. Why are we doing these overseas things, right?
Frankly, we just got finished having a conversation with several hundred folks about open data, the sharing of information at governments and the private sector in agriculture and nutrition. That's the world we live in today. There's a sharing of information because we face a huge challenge, which is to feed an ever-increasing world population. It's going to require as much innovation in the next 35 years in agriculture as we've experienced in the preceding 10,000.
So here's the sell. It's all about fear, right? Oh, there might not be food. But really what this is about is consolidating all the power to feed you. So basically the government's going to be responsible, or let's call it large corporations that have merged together that are easily controllable by the government. It's not the government directly, but we all know what happens with these corporations. They get bailed out, they get bought out, sold out to the government. This is exactly what we're going through right now, where all the small businesses who didn't sell out are losing all of their rights to stay open, and the big businesses are just loving this. They're all staying rich because we got to eat, right? So these companies are making a lot of money, and the power is being taken away from the small farmer on so many different levels with mergers like this. Let's keep watching.
Years. So it's going to be important for us to accelerate innovation. It's going to be important for us to accelerate research. And I think what we are looking for are ways in which we can provide help and assistance through the government. Open data is one way.
You think of innovation in the tech side of things. It's often happening with small companies just starting out. It struck me listening to the CEOs of Bayer and Monsanto talking that they were stressing that bigness could lead to more innovation. Help me square that. Why, by creating a bigger company, is that going to be a more innovative company?
Well, I think basically it's a combination of their core competencies is what they're talking about. But in agriculture, there's been an incredible amount of innovation. In my lifetime, it's a 170% increase in agricultural production in this country on 26% less land and 22 million fewer farmers.
Less land and less farmers. Why do you think that happened? Because they couldn't compete. Because as these consolidations happen, it pushes the other farmers out. They can't make money. They've got loans out with the banks. They've got subsidies that they're being given. So of course it's going to reduce the amount of farmers as they're pushed out of the market. Is this really what we want in America? This is the very foundation of America, was agriculture on a farm level, a small farm level, not big business agriculture. And you make no mistake, in the same way that Monsanto got away with the whole Roundup scandal and paid out a little bit of money compared to the billions that they're making, this is what happens with corporate mergers. There's no accountability. It's one more sector of our economy that can basically operate with immunity. Operate with immunity, and there are no checks and balances. And so when stuff like Roundup happens, or genetically modified organisms happens, and these negative effects begin to descend on the rest of the plant life around these farms and begin to spoil the natural genome, there's no accountability. And who suffers? Me and you. Do you see Trump sitting around eating genetically modified corn chips? Or any of these people on the right or the left? Of course not, because they know that this is just food for the masses, not for them. They can afford to get all their meat and food from more expensive sources, pricing us all out. These people don't shop at Walmart. They go and have their food in restaurants or special chefs. They cook up pure food in their own. They probably have their own little private organic farms, and they probably ship them to their little locations where they hang out and eat, and they freeze them, and then they can pull them out of their freezer at the cost of thousands of dollars a day. Versus you and I, we've got to eat all this genetically modified food. This is where it's headed. So this guy is pure evil. And coming from Iowa, he should be ashamed of himself. So there's no checks and balances. And the USDA or the FDA or whoever tests this stuff for safety, they missed the one with Roundup, obviously. They missed the fact that that was making people sick. And then they wonder why we don't trust their VCs when they make huge mistakes like this. Now, let's listen to a little bit more of this, and then I'm going to show you a decode that we did on the series Childhood's End early last year. And we're going to look at themes of VCs and crops, corn to be specific. And I'm starting to understand that the two go hand in hand. Genetically engineered VCs, genetically modified corn.
So obviously that has been a result of technology. And if you look at the ag sector, you're going to find it's been one of the most innovative sectors of our economy over the course of the last 20, 30 years.
Now you know why they're starting to talk about eggs. And they're making up these stories about dangerous eggs and dangerous, the hens, and carrying some kind of virus, right? They're putting the fear in people. And now they're saying we have to control that because your chickens could affect our chickens. They could affect our chickens. And they could spread dangerous disease. See how this works? And it's all because they are greedy. They want to be the egg manufacturers of the world and their technology, and they want to sell their products to more farmers.
Years.
You travel, you talk to a lot of farmers. What do they say about this trend that we're seeing of this consolidation?
Well, they're obviously concerned. They're looking at their bottom line and commodity prices being a bit low right now because of the surpluses that we have.
There you go. Commodity prices being low because of the surpluses. This is how big business takes over markets. They flood the market with their cheap product, and then it drives the price down for the regular old small farmer, and then they can't turn profits or even keep up with their bills anymore. They can't pay off their farm equipment. And this is why I always tell you, don't mortgage anything. A mortgage is the biggest scam of all time because there's 100 different ways that mortgage, that property can be taken away from you. Death in the family, divorce, health problems. Now, I know there's insurance, but we all know how insurance companies work. If they find any reason not to have to pay out an insurance claim, they'll do it. And they don't care what happens to you. This is why you're better off saving for 4 or 5 or 6 years. Stop living paycheck to paycheck. Even if you have to get rid of some of the niceties of life, if you have cable with 52 channels on it or whatever, you're better off saving the money and getting something that is real, that's yours, that you're not mortgaging. Okay? Let me keep going with this.
They're deeply concerned. They want choice. They want competition. They want quality. They want new innovation. And they want it for the least amount of money possible, which is certainly understandable. But at the end of the day, I think what we're seeing in America is a diversification of agriculture. We're beginning to see a lot of smaller, mid-sized operators go into local and regional food systems. That's going to create new opportunities, I think, for seed companies. It's going to create new opportunities for farms to be more diversified in what they grow. We're dealing with climate change and some of the challenges that's going to create.
So obviously something is happening with this Vilsack pick for Biden, okay? And somehow it's going to link into the VCs and GMO corn. It's linking the two together. Didn't we also see this in, what was it? Utopia. Wasn't there a corn element to this as well, or a crop element? I can't remember. But it's obvious to me what's going on. Now let's look at this here. This is crazy. Because this is where I think all this is headed. Now, I'm no Bernie Sanders fan, all right? Because I feel like he just offers the voice for the few minority that are awake, but I don't believe that he's there to carry out that voice. They always have to pretend like there's an advocate there for people like us that they'll never let get power, okay? Because it's a debate. So it's like putting a horse in a race to prove that the horse can't win. Does that make any sense? It's like loading a horse. What do they call it when all the horses line up? What would they call that? The horses in the race, right? Make no mistake, they probably put horses in that lineup that they know are going to lose to make the good horse look better, right? Oh, I'm no Bernie fan, but look at this headline. Obama's agricultural secretary, now working for the dairy industry, urges 2020 Democrats to be nice to the dairy industry. So, some dairy companies have begun to include a list of that word, prevention hotlines, in the envelope with farmers' checks. What's this all about? Let's read this article, and then we'll get into this childhood's end. Now, this was dated May 2019. In a campaign speech on Sunday, Bernie Sanders outlined an ag policy rooted in breaking the power of vertically integrated farm monopolies. So this sounds good, right? Bernie gets it. But Bernie didn't win. And Bernie didn't have the power to win. He never was really going to win. So they put forward the logical arguments as like a fake pawn, and then they never let it get power. He called for breaking up consolidations in pork, beef, corn, and soybean seed industries and into contract farming, in which farmers raise livestock they do not own at low prices predetermined by agribusiness, reestablishing the grain inspection, packers, and stock. So this is what Bernie wanted. These are all really good things, okay? We need to put the power back in the hands of local farmers. We don't need specialized seeds when the seeds that we have grow just fine. Yeah, it's not going to look all pretty. Some of our produce, we don't need it to look pretty. We need it to be real, and we need it to look nutritious or be nutritious. And we don't need every single thing ever made in America on every single shelf. We need the local produce. Now, for those of you that live in outlying areas where not a lot of stuff grows, that's the choice you make. But, I mean, is that at the expense of the quality of the food? I'd rather have quality food. And some of this stuff can be shipped and be okay on the shelf for a few weeks or a week. And it's just not going to look as great if you're living out in the middle of the desert. And that's what happens when you want to live out in the middle of a desert. But I don't think this big agribusiness is the answer, because these people do whatever they want. Now, it talks about Vilsack, we're going to call him, here in this article. Sanders is not alone among the 2020 candidates in targeting Big Ag Senator Cory Booker's strongest and most ambitious policy. Hold on, guys. So, and then it talks about Senator Elizabeth Warren's farm policy includes reversing mergers she said should have never been approved, like the Bayer-Monsanto deal that consolidated the seed and pesticide industry. With 30% of the Iowa economy tied up in agriculture, the concentration crisis seems like fertile grounds for Democrats. The way of life of the independent family farmer is slowly slipping away, supplanted by mammoth agribusinesses, industrial-sized confinement lots, ruthless livestock companies. So here's the problem. Do you see what's happening here? I'm complaining about a guy who's into big agribusiness. I'm probably sounding like a Democrat, but you see both sides are doing it. Trump allowed this to go through as well, just in a different way, getting out of the way for Monsanto. Any Democrat looking to improve life for everyday Iowans then could highlight preventing or reversing big ag consolidation as a way to salvage rural America. Anyone, that is, except Tom Vilsack, former Iowa governor and former President Barack Obama's agriculture secretary. So, Obama was acting like a Republican here. You see how this works? Nothing makes sense when you really dig down and look at what these people's actions are. When you really dig down and look at what these people's actions are, you see that they're like Janices. They all operate on the other side of the fence while telling all their constituents the opposite. So, this is where all this is headed, you guys. Republicans acting like Democrats and Democrats acting like Republicans with one common goal: going against the will of the people, to contaminate the natural with the unnatural. The same goes for seeds as it does for VCs. And now you see the overall plan. Here is 2011. Some other parts of Vilsack's track record. Green lights Monsanto's alfalfa. Let's read this real quick. Government regulation of corporate practices has apparently been much on President Obama's mind lately. Vowed to reveal federal regulations to make sure they weren't too onerous on business. He's trying to eminently, reasonably establish himself as a pro-business sort of president. Obama's instantly famous salmon joke has been looking into how government regulates salmon farms. Then there was this reversal in this decision. Vilsack hinted strongly that he would place geographic restrictions on growing of GMO alfalfa to protect organic alfalfa growers from the threat of GMO contamination. Do you see the real virus here? It isn't CV-19. The real virus is these GMO seeds that are contaminating all of the natural seeds. So then he reversed this. I'm dropping take on GMO alfalfa from a weeks ago, in which I argued that the stuff should be banned outright. He flipped the script, and this is how they can do this. And he allowed these to go through. This GMO alfalfa. Now let's keep going with this, because I want to show you childhood's end in this video that we uploaded way back. Well, it was just in October. Let's take a look at this. Now, we did a full show on this, so if you're interested in this short montage, check out the full show on childhood's end. Just do a search on the word end. Actually, I'll put it in the linked pinned comment.
Look beside you.
So, backdrop of the childhood end story is that these aliens come from outer space, and the world is in, they want you to believe the world is in basically headed toward a dark future because of choices we've made. So of course there's themes about global warming and conflicts and famine, you know, the fear. And the aliens offer a solution. They offer this vial, which looks a lot like a hypo needle. The vial opens and it cures the world. This is a metaphor for the VCs. Now, this short film, or this miniseries, came out years ago. This guy is the liaison between humans and the aliens. And the aliens in the beginning hide behind a two-way mirror because their appearance is so dark. Now, this is based off of Arthur C. Clarke's novel that came out years before this. A.C. Clarke? Antichrist Clarke?
What is it?
Now, this was some of the early technology they talked about using for the VC. This was going to be plunged into your neck, and it didn't end up making it to market. But this is very weird because the plunging into the neck is a lot like what a vampire would do with two fangs.
What you got there? I have absolutely no idea.
So, the aliens give him the vial, which is the metaphor for the VC. He hasn't opened it yet. He's given a choice. Guess what? You're given a choice to take the VC, or are you not? But they're going to make life really hard for you. They're going to shame you. Some of you will have to lose your jobs. Fauci just came out yesterday and said that he expects that schools, colleges, and medical institutions will make it mandatory. So what happened to Trump's promise? Because Trump already knew he wasn't going to be able to not make this mandatory. He knew he was going to hand the ball off. So he's got the vial. This guy's Secret Service, he knows he was given something. They're trying to control the outcome because the liaison's kind of a free agent. He's not beholden to any government or anything. He's just going to try to make the right choice for humanity. He gets talked into opening the vial and releasing the, I guess you can call it the destiny of the world. So they're out in the cornfields. Let's keep going with this. You guys see how this is starting to link into genetically modified Monsanto.
They give you that? What if I don't want to take it?
Well, then don't take it.
I take a look-see. I can take it somewhere safe.
I'm sure you could. Don't patronize me.
Oh, I'm not.
Look at Trump's birthday. Now keep watching.
Patronize me.
Oh, I'm not.
The difference in the days between the actor and Trump's birthday. Watch. 33 days. Do you think they were trying to tell us something? And of course, the 717, that's a mirror of the number 17, which is Q.
Take you seriously, so I take you seriously. That's why I'm asking you to hand it over of your own free will.
I hope you can trust me.
What if it's...
It's about free will. And you got some choices to make as time goes by and this VC continues to roll out. You had choices to make with going to fake elections where either the right or the left are chosen by the powers that be, and allowing companies like Monsanto to continue on killing God's creation. Had he not cut those days short, there would be no flesh left. The flesh is starting to be extinct. When they talk about reducing the world's population to 500 million, maybe it's really about true humans that are unaffected and unaltered in their DNA. Maybe that's what that really means. You don't have to wipe out all of humanity to have most of them unable to get through the narrow gate because of what's in their system. You don't have to wipe out all of humanity to turn that many people against God. You're in effect wiping them out. You are reducing the world's population down to 500 million. When you basically disqualify or talk someone out of believing in God. We're thinking about this the wrong way.
It's a bomb or a virus. You think of that?
Trust me.
What if it's a bomb or a virus?
What if it's a virus standing in the cornfields, the Monsanto cornfields, genetically modified? Are you seeing where all this is headed now? Are you seeing the plan clearly?
You think of that?
Of course I thought about that. I might take it, just check this. But don't you think that if that was their intention, they could have done it themselves at any point?
Well, think about it, Ricky. So far, these aliens have been overwhelmingly demonstrative and secretive.
And there he releases the vial. There he releases the VC. These guys back here represent Janus, the two faces, the twinning, the Gemini, Trump. Created the VC and now will be unleashed onto the world. We will be bitten by Biden. People are standing in line right now.
First cure occurred the same minute that you opened the vial.
Maybe they are going to cure everything.
You tell me. We're looking at a 60% recovery in patients presenting with leukemia, Hodgkin's lymphoma, pulmonary lung disease.
But they brought certainty and stability. At least that's how it seemed to us at first.
While you're standing back there, hiding your face, look at this. Have you seen these?
There's your Janus again, the two faces looking at yourself in the mirror, the man in the mirror.
Why, I don't mind the centipede.
I look back now.
And he says, I don't mind the centipede. That's a blue blood creature. Of course, we saw the Space Needle in Seattle with the blue blood squid surrounding the syringe. during the New Year's Eve celebration.
Now in shudder. We were all under a spell.
So you destroy every good gift they've given us. Then what?
They leave. Defiance. If we stop following them, they fail.
Man needs a lot.
If we stop following them, they fail. This is the problem we're having. When I come on here, channel like myself, and try to expose the right-left paradigm, only the few people on this channel can get on the same page. But look at the majority of the truth community. They're into Q. They're into supporting a candidate or Trump. Why? Because it gets them views. That's how the right-left paradigm works. If you pick a team, you're going to be popular, and you're going to get a lot of followers. But if you stay outside the teams, you will never get enough people to wake up to the deception. And your voice is drowned out. Keep watching.
Stop following them, they fail.
Man needs a lot more psychological preparation before we can show ourselves.
Man needs a lot more psychological preparation before we show ourselves, and that is exactly the case. But the fangs are coming out now. The two shots are the fangs. And here's, of course, Trump's apprentice boardroom. He's got a mirror sitting directly across from him. There's nine chairs on one side, one on the other. That's CV19. There's a corona surrounding the mirror of the sun, and that would be CV19 encoded right there in the boardroom for the apprentice. The man in the mirror.
On the TV, they say that science is dying. I don't want it to die.
Mom got clean and looked younger than ever before. In fact, everyone did. Youth of Utopia, they called it.
Youth of Utopia, they called it. Youth of Utopia, they called it.
Of course, this is the British series Utopia, in which they talk about Janus, and V-Day, which all happened for real, did it not? It all happened for real. This V-Day in the Utopia British series, the British version, I believe this happened 28 days before the real V-Day, which was like on December 14th, right at the Apollo, what is it called? The eclipse. That's when it happened, right on the day of the eclipse is when they rolled out the VCs in America. But in the Utopia series, V-Day occurred on November 16th, which of course is a mirror of the number 9 and a 1 and a 1.
The Earth was being reborn, so to speak, and right now was waiting to meet their guardian.
Reborn, born in the image of the serpent.
Most of these are empty. When folk found out they didn't have to earn money, they just cleared on out and them wide open.
Wow. So when folks found out they didn't have to earn money, this dovetails right in with the stimulus checks.
Spaces.
Hey, look at this. Everything's changed.
So obviously we got $1,200 and $600. That's $1,800. That's $600 and $600 and $600. That's 666, and that would be the segue into the mark. Obviously, that appears in Childhood's End. It's the tilted Masonic column. I really like the zoom feature on here. Let's make sure we're connected first. Got a sneaking system. We had some internet problems yesterday. Wasn't that weird, you guys? We had problems. And toward the end of the show, right when we were getting to the meat of some of this stuff, and they just knocked us off. The bandwidth went down to like 0, and the show just crashed and burned. So I went to the backup server, and it seems to be working out as many of you are tuning in today. Let's keep watching. So at the end of this, the aliens finally reveal themselves, and who do they come after? They come after the children. And that's exactly what they're doing now with these VCs. I've got another show next week talking about a VC that they give to your baby while it's still in the womb. And it contains aluminum. And we're going to look at the effects of aluminum on the human body, studies that have been done. Now, I'm not saying that aluminum given in the VC could cause all those things. I'm just saying we don't know the levels they could cause any kind of brain impairment or things like that. We don't know. So they need to do studies on that, right? So this is weird. This is from iPetGo 2. And we've got this rectangular. This is like a Fibonacci ratio, golden ratio rectangle. And this is the rectangle that the aliens appear in with the children when they first reveal themselves. They appear in this rectangular shaped opening. Fibonacci golden ratio opening. This would be your wide format televisions. This is the scrying mirror. This is the what is it called? The Lucifer based phosphorus. All televisions came from phosphorus technology, because when you excite phosphorus, which is also called Lucifer the light bearer, you can look it up in the elements. That's what it's called, Lucifer the light bearer, phosphorus. When you add electricity to it, it glows green. And these were the early technologies of televisions. This is why you look at some of these old films and it's in green. That's phosphorus. Those are phosphorus displays. And I believe this is how they deceive us, through this golden ratio. Okay, I think it's 2 to 3, maybe. 2/3 is the ratio or something like that. There's the Antichrist, and there's the golden ratio. There is still time. But when I see things like what happened in the truth community, where all of the big channels did something on the passing of Jeff C., but none of those channels did anything for Brandy, a woman who put up dozens of billboards across America with her own money and tried to raise money to raise awareness about VCs, and had a reach of tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, and helped wake mothers up to not allow this to happen to their children. When I look at how a person like that was just snuffed away in the truth community and nothing was really said, and some big channels actually came out and tried to discredit Brandy, that makes me sad. And I'm not taking anything away from what happened to Jeff, but we didn't even know his real name. Brandy put it all on the line, and now she's got a 9-year-old son without a mother. And barely got a mention from some of these big channels. And that's when I feel ashamed of the truth community, because we need to do a better job. And hats off to you, the small channels who did pick up the torch and who did help Brandy's name to be remembered. Not for my sake, for the Most High's sake. He sees. Pull up a video today about Brandy and see how she spoke, and tell me she was ineffective against these companies. Look at the things that she did. Look at the lips. This was iPetGo from 2012. And look at the lips. Read the lips. It sounds like he's saying mask. I'm going to zoom this in. Wow. 2012 this came out, and he looks like he's saying mask. And what is this boy's face? It's like a mask. It's actually a broken egg, but it's attached to his face like a mask. Now, there are other masks at the end of I Pet Goat 2. Lots of masks as this final dancing character dances around inside of what appears to me to be a kibbutz, I think is what it's called. So they realize that they've been deceived. This woman's pregnant. They realize they've been lied to, but it's too late. But there is still time. There is still time. It's not too late. And it's never too late if you believe in the Most High and His Son, Jesus Christ. It's never too late. Even when the world goes to hell in a handbasket, you're still saved, but it's going to be harder and harder to walk the straight and narrow because you're going to be faced with choices to try to preserve your life, and that is when you'll lose it, just like in Childhood's End. So they're coming for the children, and if that scares you, it's already happening here in California, which Brandy tried to warn everybody about the coming VCs. Maybe that's why she's not with us anymore. It's already happening in California. Whether or not you're homeschool, private school or public school, new children are forced to take the VC. Now, Trump's different, Casey. No, he's not. And here's what's going on, because Trump still had Monsanto's back during his presidency. The EPA's decision to reauthorize Roundup pesticides means we will be eating, drinking, and breathing these poisons for years to come. Trump still has Monsanto's back. Let's see, let's go down here. And this is a quote. White House quoted saying Trump has Monsanto's back. That's all you need to know. EPA's cancer assessment overwhelmingly relied on industry studies, which are not publicly available or subject to peer review. Remember I talked about how they have ultimate power? Remember I talked about how there's no accountability and they have full immunity? Here's the problem with it. They could just do and say what they want, release and not release what they want. Look at this. Up to 33 times less likely to find evidence of toxicity. They're laughing at us. They're laughing at us. When are we going to wake up and step outside of the right-left paradigm? How many of these shows do I have to do? How many times are we going to take the bait and switch? So, Trump was sworn in. He carried the torch for Monsanto. Still has their back. So for the Trump holdouts who still think he was here to save us, now you see these no different than the Democrats. So now we have Biden, which will be no different than Trump. And this is the true virus contaminating America. This is it right here. Unbelievable. So, no flesh left, the end of the natural. And this is where everything sits. And unless God cuts these days short, there won't be any flesh left. And this is probably what they meant on the Georgia Guidestones. Let's go back into the chat here for a little bit. See what's going on with you guys. Appreciate everybody coming to the show this morning. And let's get into the chat for a little bit here. I'm not going to stay on here too long. But let's see what's going on here. My family's awake, so you guys might hear some background noise. I don't think we really need to do it. I was going to look at the Space Needle, Chrissy. But I think all we really need to know, we had already decoded the Space Needle. don't know if you guys remember, middle of this last year, we looked at the Space Needle. I went into Google Earth. I pulled it up. This is long before we knew there was going to be a New Year's Eve display. Many of you will remember that decode on the Space Needle. We decoded it. Now, I will not wear the badge of prophet. I just won't, because that's not what God wants us to do. That's self-aggrandizement. Probably easily do it. For those of you that follow this channel, you see that we preempt every single major thing that's happening in the news. We're already talking about it before it happens. That's God trying to wake you up, and all the glory goes to him. All of it. Not me. I'm just a man doing his work. Yes, I'm fully dedicated to doing his work, and maybe that's why he's working through this channel, working through each and every one of you. So, if you take anything from that, and it gives you chills, knowing we were already talking about the Space Needle and decoded it and talked about how it was a syringe, and then all of a sudden the New Year's Eve comes out and they show the blue blood squid around the syringe. Give all that glory to the Most High. And maybe it's time to step up and change your life. Allow him into your heart. Maybe it's time. Okay, let's go into the chat here. They have a needle in Melbourne, says the searcher. That's interesting. Yeah, unfortunately, there's channels out there that are very, very weighted toward money. That's not the answer. Someone asked for Brandy's last name. Let's put that in here. There are still some videos of her basically foreshadowing everything we're going through right now. She said if we don't stop it now, it's going to be a landslide and a snowball effect that we will never be able to come back from. She was begging people to wake up. She was very effective in trying to turn things around. She created a foundation. She put her real name out there. She went on dozens and dozens and dozens of interviews in multiple languages. Yes, she was on the Alex Jones show, and I was concerned about her at that point because I thought, uh-oh, you're going down a road that could cause danger for you, or would cause danger for you, because obviously we know what Alex Jones is there to do. But she was trying. She did her best, and she worked relentlessly. And it's just sad. Like, we put up a video. I had to take it down because YouTube flagged it. But the video that we did on Brandy was about, I think it was about an hour long. And I just wish that the same attention that Jeff got, I wish that Brandy would have got 10 times that attention, because she did so much and saved lives. Actually saved lives. And harm of children. So I just wish that, yeah, he's an agent, Dr. Savage. That's why I was concerned when she went on his show, because I knew that was the wrong way to go. And I tried to reach her. But what do you tell somebody when they get what they believe is the interview of a lifetime to share their word, to share their message? She probably thought, wow, he's a huge outlet of, coming from me, it would have sounded like maybe jealousy or something else. So, but I knew, and it was great to see her grow into being allowed on all of these different interviews, because that means that her message was resonating, that she was very effective. So it tells me that our truth community isn't exactly what we thought it was. And it kind of scares me a little bit in certain ways and worries me in others. We kind of go solo here on this channel, and there's a reason for that. There's a reason why we go solo, because there's not a lot of trust out there. I have a few friends on YouTube, and look, I'll hold out the possibility that a lot of people maybe didn't know her, but Brandy was around, and when she was making the rounds, all of these channels that talk about this stuff, I'm not going to say their names, but we're talking about all of these naturopathic doctors being taken out. Even some of them didn't mention brandy, which was just made me scratch my head. But a lot of people did, and hats off to people that did. But that's what's going on. So I'm going to end the show there. Appreciate everyone coming out. Share this video. This is very, very important, because Biden is simply carrying the torch for the bipartisan affront on our freedoms, on the maintenance of humanity, on the natural. They're trying to turn everything into the unnatural. Take care and be safe, everybody. Much love.